Hey, it's Aliyah, and I am back with another conversation. Daily Conversations is all about sharing people's stories, their why, their impact. And today we have a beautiful soul. Tell the people who you are, what you
Okay.
do, and something interesting about yourself.
Okay. All right. I got it. My name is Amaris. I am the founder of Black Girls Do Math Too, and it's a content creation hub to support uplifting Black girls and specifically in mathematics, also providing them one-on-one support with tutoring and exploring their identity in math so they can take that and apply it to any career set going forward. And something interesting about me is that I love cooking, and I have a very small obsession with avocados. I love avocados. I don't need more avocado stickers or paraphernalia, but I've grown a love for avocados and always can stay on top of like how much avocado prices are. It's kind of interesting. So yes, love it, love it, love it.
That is so cool. I love, I'm not gonna say I love cooking, but I was having this conversation the other day where I'm trying to get into the idea of loving to cook and creating these different meals because there's so many meals that I feel like I've missed out on or I'm not like being introduced to because I don't like to cook. So,
Yes.
but that actually ties into like the work that you do, right? How did you get into Black Girls Do Math?
Black Girls Do Math 2 has been an idea since 2020. So literally since the pandemic. And it really started when I was in undergrad before I even knew Black Girls Do Math 2 was going to be a thing, of just my experiences of being the only one in my math classes that looked like me, that was a woman, that was a Black woman, and feeling isolated, and also looking at my instructors and wondering, where are the Black women in math, right? Where are they in my courses? Where are they in front of me? But also in social media, it didn't seem like it was a career field that I needed to pursue. And so I definitely did have some struggles with my own math identity, of questioning if I was deserving to be in those spaces, um, with experiencing specific failure in mathematic courses because I didn't feel prepared or I didn't feel confident enough to try because the instructor didn't look like me and it felt like everyone was speaking a language that I wasn't able to pick up on. And so Black Girls Do Math Too was almost birthed out of a painful experience because it was created to support girls who felt like me or who still feel like me at some point and who struggle specifically with math because it is a subject area that Black girls specifically struggle with, and not just Black girls. A lot of people struggle with math, but with Black girls, what I've seen as being in education is that it really hits our identity. When we can't be confident in math, it literally kind of destroys sometimes our confidence to show up in other spaces. And I was able to see that of being in education of over 15 years of like my girls who get it and they're confident, that confidence applies to other subject areas. And then my girls who kind of like struggle with the math, they kind of shut down. They're not as willing to, what is the word? To advocate for themselves sometimes in other courses or to take bigger risks and opportunities. And so Black Girls Do Math Too was created to support both girls, like both and, right? To continue to uplift the girls who have a confidence in math and to provide them with additional opportunities and support to say, what careers can I connect math to if I have a passion in it? But then also to say to my girls who may not have a positive experience in math, how can we put you on a route to where you can have a more positive experience? How can you have a mentor? How can you have social media that you can go to so that you can feel encouraged and you can see someone who looks like you actually doing math? And then when it's time for you to step in the real world, it won't feel so new for you to say, what subject area can I apply my math skills to if I'm passionate in it? Because also, our girls don't know what they can do with math, what career opportunities are available for me. So Black Girls Do Math Too is a nonprofit to address those issues and to increase the more Black women specifically in math so that we can also increase their access to generational wealth, additional resources, so they don't have a scarcity mindset, and also to support them in taking up space because we're here, we've been doing the math for years, and it's just our time to shine.
I really love that because you kind of spoke on like my journey with math. When I was in middle school, I was like, I don't really like it, but I think it was because of the teacher that I had. But when I got to high school, I had a teacher named Ms. Rios, and she was a Hispanic teacher. And not that that matters, but she made math so interesting to me that I really started to enjoy it. I was catching on. I think the only subject I didn't really like was geometry, but all the other subjects in math, algebra, it could be anything. I loved it. And I went to an early college, so I even when I was in high school, I was taking college courses, and even in those courses, I was loving it. But for some reason, I felt like I couldn't go to school for math. Like even in college when I took statistics and psychology, I aced the class. I would tell myself I love math, but I did not go into a career in math. And now and when I sit down and when you were talking and when you were saying like you didn't see people who look like you that were math teachers, or you may have not felt, you may have felt isolated. I never really sat back and thought about that because I'm like, I used to love math a lot. Why didn't I go into those careers?
And it's interesting because when I speak with students, even now as I'm still in the classroom, I'm like rebuilding confidence, right? And I know that social media plays a huge impact to where recently I went to an event held by an organization called STEM Social. And I walked into this space, I was like, oh, look at all of these. First of all, look at all these Black people in STEM. But then two, when I looked around the room, I was like, where? Because they had like this differentiation of like stickers of science, technology, engineering, and math. And when I tell you, I was struggling to still find, and I know they all have a very strong math background because there's no STEM without the M, right? You got to have a math content. But when I was looking around the room, I'm like, where are the Black women in math? Even within this Black space, I still didn't see, and the data may be updated because I know that we are creating change to advocate and support more Black girls in math. But when I've been checking, under, we're under researched, oftentimes underinvested. And so when I was doing research, I'm like, where are the Black girls in math? Like all I could find out was it's like 3% of Black girls in math, 3%. And I was telling my students, they were like, it's not even 10, because like 10 is like it's like
Right.
right? It's like, I can work with 10. I was like, no, it's only 3% of us. So there was 100 of us in the room. It's only 3 of us, right? And as you increase that, it's just like, oh, it's really, really small. So to speak to your experiences, if I can name every Black woman or Black girl identifying that has had a negative experience in math, they often, more times than not, that negative experience will shape their identity and could reshape their future around what they pursue. And then I want us to think about what careers are attached to mathematics, right? They're very high paying, right? And if you perform well in school with math, you can get access to scholarships, which means that lowers your student loans, like potential student loans, also opportunities, internships, and the doors continue to open. Then I want us to think about what happens when we experience a failure in math. What doors are not even, the doors are, first of all, we don't even know what doors to open. We don't even know what doors to push on, because that is a silencing in our identity. It feels like failure, right? It's a lack of self-esteem. And so I'm excited that you had an experience with another woman of color who was able to kind of like redirect you so that you could have positive experiences in college, but also like when you were taking your psychology courses, you could have potentially been a double major in math, right? And so you're still doing it with what you're doing right now, because I know we had like a little pre-interview. So like there's so much math in gardening, but we can definitely talk about that later. But yeah.
That would be fun. Wow. I love that you are building the confidence. I would love for you to speak more about that. Like, why is it important for girls specifically, or anybody, to just have confidence in whatever they're doing, or specifically in math? And how does that, and I know you spoke on it, but how does that, if you could speak on it just a little bit more and talk maybe specifically, like give us maybe a specific trajectory of where that could take someone on their path?
Sure. And so I was recently, I want to say it's Mel Robbins. I think. So, Mel Robbins, I've just been listening to, as I need my own confidence, right? As we're getting ready to as I'm getting ready to pilot Black Girls Do Math too. We have connected through Tiny 4.0 fellowship program, but there are some areas to where I don't feel as confident in this, like in the business role or the nonprofit space of feeling like, is there space for me? Is it an oversaturated space for Black girls? Because there's a lot of organizations that have launched, and they have launched in a time to where I didn't see any other organizations launching, right? Which made me feel like I maybe shouldn't do this, right? And so if you don't have, she talked about confidence isn't really a feeling, and I'm quoting her, but she was talking about its ability to try, right?
Mm.
And so what we're doing in this space is what support systems are needed for a Black girl to just try, right? How can we make that space a safe space? How can we lower their fear? How can we encourage them? How can we do it with storytelling? And so I recently had the opportunity, I don't think I have the permissions just yet to share, but I was able to create like a mini documentary around Black girls' experiences in math. And I asked them, I said, okay, when you think about math, what's the first thing you think of? They're like challenge, right? Or they're not a fan of it. And then I began to ask them, and these are my, what is it? Are they they're not Gen Z, Gen Alpha? Is that right?
Okay, the youngest.
The youngest, right? I'm asking them, when was your first time you had exposure to a Black woman, specifically in math? And at least out of the 10 girls that I interviewed, the first Black woman they ever had to teach them math was me. And it's 2025. So I'm like, I'm telling you, you're in the 7th or 8th grade, and your first Black math teacher is me. And so when we talk about the confidence, when they saw me, their anxiety lowered because they're like, I can identify with this woman because she looks like me. We have shared experiences. And so because we have shared experiences, I'm more willing to try because I know she's going to support me, right? And that's not to say, and this is not to be disrespectful to other Black women and teachers who are not doing that, right? Because there are some people that Black girls don't have positive experiences with other Black women as teachers. But when they communicated to me about their experiences, they told me it felt like a safe environment. They felt supported. They felt like they could come up to me and ask me questions. They felt like if they made a mistake, it wasn't humiliating. And then they were met with additional opportunities, one-on-one tutoring support. And so like all of these things are what they needed to be successful. And so I also want to be clear to say, like for others who might watch this, is that I'm not just narrowing my focus when I'm teaching to only focus on Black girls, right? But when I differentiate my classroom to support Black girls, everyone benefits. Everyone benefits from the one-on-one support. Everyone benefits from the differentiation. Everyone benefits from, let's analyze this task. Do you understand it? What is that you don't understand? Why is it challenging? Oh, because there's a lot of reading in math, right? And there's a language barrier because mathematics is also a language course. It's based a lot in Latin. Who takes Latin currently? My students are taking Mandarin. My students are taking Arabic, right?
Spanish,
They're
right?
taking Spanish. I had some prior background in Latin when I was in elementary school, but that's not a language that they are receiving consistently to say, like, oh, I know how to just make that code switch. And so when it comes to them trying, they need these resources. And when they have those resources and they're met with those resources, and when they try and they're successful, boom. And when they try it again, they're successful, boom. And then if they try and they're not successful, but they experience some failure, they're still willing to try because they've had experiences and support to say, like, oh, that's just a part of the learning process. Failure doesn't become so detrimental to where it damages their identity because they know they have someone that's like, no, you can keep going. I also have experienced failure. And when I experienced failure, this is what I did. So now when they're experiencing failure, I can address that need specifically because I've experienced it. And then they are willing to try and be successful in the future.
That's so good. The need to teach children how to overcome failure. That was something that I actually, when I sat back and reflected on my school experience, it's something that I feel like I missed out as a kid. Like I missed out on that. I don't feel like my teacher specifically, or even if you've had this experience, we in the era that we grew up in and we went to public education, there wasn't a lot of talk about, you know, overcoming your mistakes, social emotional development, building confidence. We missed that. In our education. So it's just really, it makes me happy to see, you know, now that we have teachers in the classroom who speak on these. These are things that we actually need prior to learning, like learning academic content. You need confidence. You need specific things. So, what are some prior to actually learning? Because I know you spoke about it a little bit, but prior to actually learning math, right? What do you feel like kids need in order to succeed in math?
What do I feel like they need? Okay, so I have a story if we have time. And so when we were talking about creating like a strong mathematic identity, I have to talk about my grandmother and my mother, and then I can think I'll try to address the question of like what is it that they need to get to that point. And so my grandmother, Catherine Whitaker, she had, I believe, and like my mom will make sure that I'll tell her the story yet. I believe she had a ninth grade math education level, right? And so she moved, and she was born in 1925, and she's no longer with us anymore. She passed before I even was able to meet her. But she migrated from Harriman, Tennessee to Detroit in like 1953, right? With academic level less than graduating from high school. And you already know what resources were available for Black women in the 1920s and 1950s. Somehow she was able to purchase a home right around the Fair Housing Act passes, right? So that's a huge thing, like a Black woman purchasing a home and she's in Detroit. Then my mother was a first graduate from college, right? And so I think about what experiences, how my grandmother's life could have shifted, right? With her math identity, because she had a lot of math skills. I call her accountant because, girl, how did you bring three kids from Tennessee to
Right.
in the 50s safely? Like,
Right.
establishing, a home. And then she instilled something within my mother that she was able to go and pursue her college degree. And so when I talk about my mom's identity, she wanted to go into an engineering program. And when she went to do like a school visit, she went to the engineering program. When she went there, she didn't see anyone that looked like her. And so my mom was born in 1950. She was attending schools in the 60s and 70s in Detroit. You have like the automotive industry, and then we have a huge education industry. My mom didn't go into the engineering program because she didn't see anybody who looked like her. And so I told her, I'm like, that could have actually changed where we are financially, right? Opportunities for me. And so now when you think about like how, and they both had strong math skills, and we talk about like what do they need to be successful, and we think about the identity of specifically of Black girls. What do they need? They need resources. They need. I'm thinking about like what do they need to get into the classroom. My students who I see who have a strong confidence is that math is talked about at home in a positive way. And oftentimes I feel as if the parent has a poor view of their own math identity, that it passes on to the student. Because here is like when you're talking to parents, it's like, I'm not a math person. The student, like this is your mirror. Your student is sitting right. Your child is sitting next to you. And if they hear that you're not a math person and you're an adult, why would they think that they are? So it starts to shape like it's like a little whisper to where it's like society already does enough for us to say where we shouldn't fit properly, right? But then when you hear it almost as like unfortunately, like a microaggression from your parent that they don't have a strong math identity, then why would you want to think that? So then you go into school and then you experience failure, and then it almost like reaffirms like, well, if my mom or dad isn't good at math and I just experienced failure, how then would I start to show up and be good in math? how can I change my own trajectory if it's already been instilled at home that we're not going to be successful in this? And so what I think they need is an opportunity, great opportunities to try. And we think about how we were brought up. It's like they need a great opportunity to try. And when they experience failure, it doesn't need to be a huge ordeal. Right. Because if you get your C, D, or F on any assignment, why did you get this? How are you reacting to it? And I think that there's a passionate reaction because we want students to be successful, but then it's almost omitting the fact that the student didn't try versus looking and seeing like, what is it that you didn't understand that prevented you from actually succeeding on this? And how can I support you? So then we shift that conversation to how can I support you? Or what is it that you didn't understand to then I think their identity would change to where it's like, oh, you know what? Okay, I got a C, right? But I know it reshapes our mind. This is what I did well, and this is what I need to improve on. And how often do we hear students getting an assessment or getting some type of feedback in math and just being like, oh, you know what? I see what I did wrong. Give them the opportunity to revisit their misconceptions around mathematic concepts. And then let's see what happens. But it also starts with the parents. And so that's why I have had like a couple of parent workshops, and I want to get into that. Like, how can I support my child at home, specifically in mathematics, with language barriers, with small games and activities. And so that's what I'm excited about, with decreasing the negativity at home, with hoping to increase their positivity in their experiences or just in their daily lives. So yeah.
I'm so glad that you spoke on parent involvement in education, because I preach this like no other. It's so important for parents to be involved in their child's education. And this is, reason why I encourage parents to homeschool. I homeschool. And I'm not saying that you have to take your children out of public education to homeschool them. You do not have to do that. You can just reinforce what they're learning in school. So I would love for you, because you just said it so beautifully, right? I've heard so many parents say, even in the homeschooling community, I'm not good at math. That's why I got my child a math teacher. And there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, if you know deep down in your heart that you're not that great at teaching math, then yeah, give it, especially in homeschool, you can delegate that task to someone else. But what can parents do to create an at-home environment where math is a thing that is enjoyable?
Okay. So I know, and my mom is old school, but we played a lot of card games. And card games to our culture, right? We played spades, we played tongue. I don't know what people know. Like,
Right.
I'm dating my age, but I was like, we played Jim Rummy, we did Connect Four. There were just so many times to where even though my mom was an educator, I think in the summertime, I think about the times we would just take an hour and we would be playing games, or she would sit and she would help me with my multiplication facts. And I'm like, I know you've seen those TikTok videos, like 4 + 4 is what, Johnny? Like, and I remember those experiences. I'm like, and she would be so frustrated at me because it was almost like you're doubting yourself, right? Because you're so scared of getting it wrong, because you don't want to get in trouble. Like, I just want to go to bed. I just want to go outside and play with my friends. But if I don't get this 4 + 4 right, I'm not going nowhere. So I think that if parents can bring home, and I know that's going to be a shift, right? Because we can't be ignorant to what has happened in our society. We cannot be ignorant to the pandemic. We cannot be ignorant to a shift in the workforce. We cannot be ignorant to the increase in social media into our homes and how that can impact how we communicate with each other. But I do think it is beautiful that if we can begin to take a small pause to reconnect with each other, even if it's for 15 minutes. It's almost like working out. Like, you have to continue to train that muscle in order for it to get stronger. And maybe it's not 15 minutes. Maybe you only got 5, right? And there are fun resources that can be used that do use social media or do use technology. So like my favorite is like a Kahoot or a Blue Kit. What else? I think, students really love those, or students that I've,
Gamified lessons,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, like make it fun, right? But then also math isn't just about like rote memory, it's also about problem solving, right? It's about strategy, it's about presenting your ideas, it's about creating arguments. And so you don't have to just say, like, we about to just do our timetables, but give them like a problem, right? I think I was talking to a couple of my mentees and we were examining what careers are available for them as they're juniors in high school and they're getting ready to, like, I don't know what I want to do, right? When I go to college, and I'm like, you often don't know what you want to do because unfortunately there aren't enough programs that are free for you to be able to explore your identity, to say like these are the things that you really enjoy and that you're passionate in, that you might want to consider considering these career fields, right? Doing a shadow day. And so to go back to the gamifying and how can parents start to shape that math identity, it is like creating a real world problem, right? So I told them what is happening in the future. AI is a thing that is going to be there. We can't ignore it, right? And then we didn't know AI was going to be what it was going to be. Maybe we did, maybe we didn't. But in 2025, I don't think all of us anticipated that all of us were going to be like, oh, nope, I'm using AI, right? And so I talked to them about what happens. How can you connect, like, think about the problem and then anticipate, the solution. And so if you have like parents at home that are giving like a problem, like what's a big problem that people have, right? AI only works if you have access to technology. Can't use AI in the book because you need a plug, right? So what happens if we have a power outage, right? And then maybe walk your kid through that concept, like, when the power goes out, what happens? Like, really, what does happen? Have them to explore that. And then maybe start thinking about, well, what are some potential solutions and how can we use math to connect to those ideas? Or what other skill sets do we need? We need people on the ground. We need to have some type of communication level. So, like, is there a device that we can create as we move forward in the future that allows us to communicate if AI and technology is no longer accessible? Like, now we're going back to the radio. Why is the radio fish? And have them like have that conversation to where they are a problem solver, where they're creating arguments. And you don't have to have them get up in front of you and have a whole slideshow, but also that's a skill, right? And I
It
think
is.
make it fun. Like, why, right? And have them question. And that also will build their confidence, because students who are able to explain their ideas clearly and provide examples also become strong and confident math students. So if you have the space as a parent to uh, develop that rigor at home of like questioning, and that questioning to be supportive and analyzation, then those are additional tools in their little math toolbox they can start to bring with them. So when they're in class and they have a teacher or they go to a tutor and there's something that's incorrect that's on the board, the student can say, I don't think that I identify with that being correct. And then what does that do? Oh my goodness, you know what? We did make a mistake. Let's analyze it. Let's talk about it. So those little beautiful math moments can shape their identity, and it can start at home with really small things.
That was very helpful. I love how, because really what it is like you said, connecting with each other and having conversations. Because I feel like when we get that connection piece and we're having those conversations, the conversations can go down a rabbit hole and you can
Yeah.
lead to a lot of different things. But it first starts with the connection piece.
Yeah.
So I would love for you to connect with who you feel like needs this message from you. But
Oh,
can you just give us some inspiration for math girlies or just anyone who is on their journey of maybe trying to build business, just whatever type of inspiration to end the podcast that you would love to share with the world?
oh, to share with the world. Oh my gosh, because this is really all close to me.
Well, that's too big, but
No, that's fine. And so I really I always I'm thinking about storytelling, and whose story do I kind of want to uplift? Because I work with so many Black girls, and they're all so absolutely amazing and beautiful human beings. So, who do I want to think about? I guess I want to talk to. I'm thinking, I'm like, there's so many girls that are just running through my mind that have like beautiful, strong skills in math, and I want to be able to activate them, right? And so I kind of want to think about like what society says versus what I want the Black girls to know, and how do I want them to be affirmed, and how do I talk to my Black girls? And I'm just thinking out loud right now. So that's what I'm trying to kind of like create that space. So maybe I want to speak to the Black girl or the little kid that just failed a test, or it's just like, I hate math, right? Like they say, and when I say they say they hate math, they mean it. They don't have a teacher that looks like them. They might be advocating for themselves. The teacher may not be listening. Um, they may not have a strong support system at home. And so I would want to let them know that, like, hey, I'm coming for you, right? So, like, Black Girls Do Math 2 content creation is specifically for you. Like, there are going to be videos that are created for you where you see Black girls that look like you that are solving problems that you can get access to. And I want it to be a movement. We're going to have like the paraphernalia. Like, you need to know actively that Black Girls Do Math too is not a mantra, that it's a movement, that we are coming to support you wherever you are, to activate you, that you have everything that you need within you to be confident, to be successful, and that when you experience failure, that it's a part of the hills and valleys, and that don't stay in that valley too low, and that on your journey up the hill, we are clapping for you, that we are encouraging you, that you got this, that you are going to understand this, that you're going to understand the language, that you're not by yourself, that there are other girls around the entire world who are experiencing struggles and problem solving just like you, and you're going to overcome this, and your story will be able to support another Black girl in math. So that's one for one of the girls, right? And then for the Black girl right now that might be killing it, right? And she's transitioning, and she's transitioning out of college. She's applying to these internships. She's going to these spaces. It might be predominantly white spaces. It might be predominantly male generated spaces that it doesn't seem like she belongs, right? It's like, no, you belong everywhere you go, right? And don't ever question whether it's if you are deserving of being there, that you are more than enough, that you have everything that you need, that find your community, right? That there's a reason why you are there. And there will be a time where you no longer have to identify with being the only in this space, because there are Black women and nonprofit organizations that are creating additional opportunities for you. You have organizations like Black Girl Mathgic. You have organizations like Black Girls Do STEM. You have Black organizations like Black Girls Love Math. You have an organization like mine, Black Girls Do Math too, where we're going to tap into the content creation. And so you will be consistently reaffirmed, regardless of what's happening in society, regardless of what you see around you, that you have a sense of community, that there is a sense of belonging, and that you are going to be fine.
That was so powerful. Before we leave, because I know I said that was the last message, but
Yeah.
can you tell us how your organization is just a little bit different from others? Because you speak on content creating, and why is that such a powerful tool in today's society?
Okay, so when there's two things, and I might get in trouble for this, but I'm okay with it. So when I was at the University of Chicago for grad school, they have this room. I think it's like a study hall. And when I went into the study hall, also when I applied to University of Chicago, I was like, I didn't know anything really about University of Chicago. I was in South Korea, and I was like, I want to move to Chicago, and I like Harry Potter, and I'm kind of smart. So, and I was like, I'm just going to apply to University of Chicago. I didn't know there was a 6% acceptance rate. So I applied, I got accepted. And when I got there and I went to that room, I was looking around the room, and it's just like almost like looking at the presidency of the United States and just like, where are the Black people? Where are the Black women? Where are the Black men? Where is somebody Black?
Right.
Around this room, right? But I do believe it was a room of like presidents or et cetera. But then it was also just like, these are up around, like among the space. And I'm just like, this doesn't really feel good for me and my identity to just see like, where is there space for me, right? And so when we think about Black Girls Do Math too and why it's a little bit different, is that that's the same thing that you go online. When you go on YouTube and you're looking up how to do anything math, when you pull it up, it's going to be predominantly a lot of white men, maybe a couple of Asian men, maybe a couple of white women, and then where are Black girls? Where are the Black women? And so Black Girls Do Math too. The biggest part is the content creation and creating videos that support girls that look like me. And I need them to go on YouTube and feel comfortable because there's also like, you already know how we feel when we are in community with each other, right? I could take a deep breath. So if they go online and they see someone like me, like, okay, hey, good morning. You know, hi, Buki, we're about to do some math problems. What are we working on? Or if they have access to a live, then they can get some tutoring and some support. That now we're creating a sense of community, right? And the Black girls, we need all of the organizations. We need all the support, right? So we do have some that are already doing the work with mentorship, but specifically Black Girls in Math is for content creation. We want to have them with one-on-one tutoring. They'll be in a cohort experience. And so they get to have that sense of community with the mentorships. And then the girls who are, I believe, in the higher grade levels, right, in our model, will then tutor the girls who are in the 7th and 8th grade. And so now we're creating a pipeline, not only of Black girls in math who potentially are going to go into STEM, but we're also creating sisterhood. We're also creating mentorship. We're also revisiting that exposure piece because now it's a thing like, I'm pulling your hand, right? So, oh yeah, I remember meeting Amaris when we were in high school, and now she has a nonprofit organization, and I'm also a nonprofit organization, and I have access to someone who has funders, and I'm going to contact Amaris because I know what she's doing. And so it's a thing of creating a space where other women, other girls can speak your name up in rooms and invite you into those spaces so that we can take up more space, that we can have a sense of community, and that we're not leaving any Black girl behind. And then one last thing is, I know we have a lot of Black girls being pushed into STEM. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that at all. But I do think that we need to, and I think people are doing this in their organizations, of examining and saying like, Black girls love math, they love engineering, they love science, they love technology, but also we love a lot of other things. And how can we like mend our passions and math together? And so one of my programs that has been running for a couple of years it deals with their natural hair, right? And I, like, you were just talking to me about your twist out, so it's just like, we also have to take care of our hair. We have to take care of our skincare. And so how can we also tap into say, like, if you have a strong foundation in math, like, have you ever considered becoming like a dermatologist? Right? Have you ever considered becoming an esthetician? Right? And now we're going into every career field. So you don't get into high school and say, I don't know what I want to do. No, you know exactly what you have exposure to, and you can say like, no, I have a passion in math, but I also want to pair it with this. I want to pair it with journalism because I want to speak to this, right? I want to go to computer science engineering, or I want to go into education, or I want to go into mentorship, or I want to become a program director, and I'll be looking at Excel sheets, and I'll be like, you can apply all of those math skills to any subject area. So that's how we're different.
Thank you, Amaris. You all, this was Amaris with Black Girls Do Math Too, empowering young Black girls to embrace mathematics. Thank you for your time. I really do appreciate you being here. You all out there in the world, if you do not do anything else, don't forget to like and subscribe.
And I have one thing, if you don't mind, because I want to speak to your younger version of yourself, because like it's all about the affirmation, because you're a Black girl that does math too, and you're gardening. And
Yes.
so I would love for you to speak and say your name, and that you're a Black girl that does math too, because we also need to make space for the little Black girls who love playing outside, right? And who love growing their vegetables. And now they're going to be like, oh my gosh, there's a woman who's like, so I need you to say that for them as well.
So I'm Aliyah Daly, and I am a Black girl that loves math.
Yes. Oh, say it one more time. So you're Aliyah Daly, and you're a Black girl that does math too.
That does math. I'm
Yeah.
Aliyah Daly, and I am a Black girl that loves math too.
Yes.
I
We got
needed that.
it's
I
coming.
needed,
Yes.
girl, I needed that. I needed this conversation because at the end of the day, it just reminded me of how much I truly loved math and how the lack of resources that were not, the resources that were not presented to me allowed me to go into a different path, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so for me now reflecting as a parent, it's just like, if my child is into something, we're going to make sure that she has the resources. Like we have to do that as parents and as educators. Like what you're doing as an educator is beautiful because I know so many educators, they're done at the door, like at the school door,
Yeah.
classroom. That's it.
Yes. Yes. It's definitely hard work, but I would not do them service. And that's why I said I am holding myself accountable to like the math content creation has to be done because I'm just hearing from too many parents. I'm hearing from too many students that because of that one negative experience, Aliyah, they are moving away from it.
Right.
They're like, I don't have the support. I don't have the person that looks like me. I'm struggling. This is not a positive experience. I used to love math all the way to this point, and I'm done. And I'm like, no, no, you're not. No, you're not. You better come here. I'm about to help you. So yeah.
Amaris is reeling, you're reeling them in.
Yes,
Getting these
yes.
Black girls into math because, like you said, it just opens up so many doors, and we need that. We need all the resources. We
Yes.
really do. Like
We
people
need
don't
all of
understand,
them.
but when you get older, you just realize, like, yo, I missed out on a lot of stuff because I
Yeah.
didn't have the resources and opportunities to get there. It's
Yes.
just it's just that simple. It's just we don't have the resources or the opportunities, and so we have to create them and make
Yeah.
up for ourselves. So thank you, Amaris, for being a generational leader in mathematics and Black women educators.
Yes.
And yeah, and let's just I'm stop recording, but we gotta
Yes.
meet after this. But
Yeah.
yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe, you all, and I will see you on the next episode. Peace.